Meeting Club, take 14, and the meeting is coming to an order. So, as I said before, we are doing, as I said what we were doing before, we are doing a boot camp. So every week we basically do a lesson in terms of like things that you can do and things like that. So today, last week we talked about how to make a long film. And I kind of like went over it. I don't know if you went. So this week we will be discussing in terms of the Frontera Film Festival more in depth to it, because last time we discussed how to submit, but now we're going to be discussing in terms of like what categories are allowed as such, and also some rules and guidelines, as well as some awards you can win if you submit. So I'm going to allow William to begin. So here we go.
Okay. So, hi guys. Today we're going to be talking about the Frontera Film Festival, and obviously the main category that everybody looks at is film. Now there are 4 categories exactly for film. There is 30-second to 2-minute, 2-minute to 5-minute, 5-minute to 8-minute, and 8-minute to 12-minute. So let's go ahead and get started. To start off, 30-second to 2-minute and 2-minute to 5-minute films. I kind of put these on the we kind of put these on the same slide because to me they kind of like almost the same. And I know your first thought, as well as mine, was, well, how am I going to tell a story in a short amount of time? Because it's a pretty shortened amount of time as compared to the one that me and Amanda made, which was about 11 minutes or so, right?
Yeah.
It's a little more difficult, but it isn't entirely possible to tell a great story in a short time frame. Beginning, middle, end, and climax. You can tell a great story. Also, it can be a little intimidating, just the word film, but I'd like to tell y'all that a big budget is not necessary. Whenever you're planning out a film, like we said last week, plan on a $0 budget, and you also don't need what we said last week. You don't need the hottest equipment. You can get great content from your phones. As for 5-minute to 8-minute, 8-minute to 12-minute films, it could be fictional or nonfiction film. That could be a comedy, drama, thriller, etc. Like we said, work with what you have. Any equipment that you have available, go for it. Dale shine, as Mr. Sanchez always says. You don't need the latest and greatest camera gear. The greatest filmmaking tool is your story. One of our students in practicum, Eli. I haven't heard that quote anywhere else. So I think it's Eli's, so I'm gonna give him credit.
It's Eli.
That's what Eli always says. And if you guys don't know, Eli does a lot of the pep rally videos and stuff, which we'll talk about later in the slide. But yeah, remember, be original when you're telling a story. That's the most important thing. You can go ahead and you can take aspects from films and stuff like that, and obviously ideas, but be original with your story. Don't plagiarize. Creating a film that's 5 minutes or longer can be a stressful task to finish. Create a team to help you with the script, storyboard, camera, edit, and the list goes on. And don't forget to be original, as we said. Work hard.
Okay, so one can say that this category is the most flexible, as there's not really much to it. It's visuals captured through camera lens combined with any audio, basically spoken dialogue, instrumental music, written dialogue. So some examples of experimental is like a stop motion, maybe a vlog, maybe you go on a trip somewhere and you want to vlog, or an action with a CGI. 30 seconds to 5 minutes, and don't forget to include credits. So yeah, that's experimental. As for animation, these are visuals generated within a computer. Animation software combined with any audio. So like I said, there's different types of mediums in terms of animation. There's stop motion, stuff like that. As we said before, in terms of equipment, you don't really need expensive equipment, so you can do with any program or software that you have. Don't be sure to include sound effects, instrumental, spoken dialogue, or written dialogue. This duration is 10 seconds to 1 minute, and don't forget to include credits. So we basically went over the first half of the film categories that Frontera Film Festival provides. And when it comes to film, it's usually you take a story and you kind of elaborate on that and base it off your budget and script and so forth. As for non-film, whenever I think about this category, I ask myself one question. I ask myself, am I going to either inform or entertain? So I would take and consider that when we go to the next categories. So Music video. So, in a highly competitive industry, filmmakers and music lovers can combine cinematography and their love for music to make aesthetically pleasing music videos in the non-film category. One thing I would really recommend is to toy around with the cinematography really well, and please don't forget to give credit to the artist. Another thing that I would take into account is, let's say I get a song. I would create a story within the song. It's more like to entertain. Like, I wouldn't don't rely on the story by the song. Like, create the story based off the song. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, so informative story. This is an original news story documentary that presents data based on factual records. This is my personal favorite, and I hope to make something like this soon. It has a lot of journalistic elements, so you can take a person, place, thing, event, anything you like. It could be about the school. It could be about a person. It could be, but it has to be serious. And one thing that's for sure is you must have research for it. I would recommend either having a fact checker or you being the fact checker yourself. It can't if it's gonna be a parody or if it's meant to be humor, then it's not an informative story. It's a short film. So the time limit is 2 to 5 minutes, and you must include credits. Public service announcement. I'll have William do that one.
A public service announcement is an informative bit which is strictly held to 30 seconds long. And as we kind of always say, if it's longer than 30 seconds, it's no longer a PSA. So keep that in mind when you're creating one.
So the 30-second original commercial, it's basically self-explanatory. It must exactly be 30 seconds long. It must promote any product or service, and you are allowed 5 extra seconds for those credits. So, I'll let William do this.
So another category, non-film, is sports videos. Creating sports videos is a very fun but responsible job. You have to commit on going to every home and away game. Having a film crew with you during the season can really benefit you so much. Getting multiple angles on big plays are the best to put on the pep rally videos. So I highly recommend that, like, if you're doing this, have a person that can edit very well and have a person that can obviously have really good eye for cinematography and shots and angles. The editing process is important to make a great football video. Editing to the music can really grab people's attention. This was actually Eli's team. Eli, as I said, was the one that I mentioned earlier with the quote, and he was in charge of the sports videos. And this was his team. He went ahead and gave credit. So we have Joanna, Luis, and Rene. And he always said that they were a great team and that they worked hard. So sports videos, it's a very tasking job, and it's not a one-man job. So I highly recommend that you guys get a good team. I don't believe it has to be from
pep
school.
rally videos go, anyone, as long as no felonies, no former convicts, anyone can help record whatever it is that you're trying to do. But as far as accessing our equipment, getting our special, media passes and stuff like that, those people have to be our students. They can be in different periods, but they do that. Yeah.
Well, what about recording these videos?
Any other video is fine. Yeah. As a matter of fact, we have kids from college submit videos, and we have local media production teams outside of high school that already make money off of it submit.
I was thinking to make videos of people making pizza, because I went to Domino's this time and he was so happy making the pizza.
Yeah.
I want to work with
Yeah, all of that stuff is available. This is a very flexible thing. As long as you record it, you piece it together, you make it interesting. Definitely. And then, of course, that's a really cool thing, because you're making something simple and mundane that we see and take for granted, but you're seeing it with totally fresh eyes, and hopefully going to make it very beautiful and interesting and entertaining. I mean, I remember, wasn't someone here tell me that they were seeing how ant colonies work on YouTube, like 40
That was me. I feel exposed.
There's some stuff out there that you could create. People will watch, if it's good. So yeah.
Yeah, there was like a skateboarding video that was submitted to Frontera in the sports category, right, sir?
Yeah, I love
That was a
and
good
it was
one.
so well because you don't see skateboarding as a sport. You just see it as kind of like a hobby.
and different.
It can-
the swimming, the diving one.
The
was-
That was a
one.
good one too.
You can do one about baseball, soccer, whatever you want. You can just-
Whatever your heart desires, ask. But even what's up?
Even about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So as for cheer and dance video, one thing that's good about this Frontera Film Festival is that there are many, as we said, there are many categories built for many different things. So as for cheer and dance video, it's a video audio compilation that focuses on a dance and or cheer performance that is in sync with music and or voice narration. The time limit is 2 to 5 minutes, credits included. One thing I would like to point out is that it doesn't have to be a dance team or a cheer dance. I remember that Mr. Sanchez showed us a video of, have y'all seen Dance Moms? You know how like certain like there's like people that do like interpretive dance, like they dance by themselves. That can also work as well.
Or like those choreography videos that you see on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or ballet, anything like
As long as it, as I said, as long as it has to do with cheer or dance, and it has to be in sync with music or has a voice narration. So before we submit and before we start gathering ideas, I need to go over the rules. So. Alright, so dialogue may not contain foul language or offensive remarks. Scene may not contain any nudity or obscene images. Scenes may not contain any images of overexposed blood and or gore. So one thing I would like to point out before we continue on to the rules, I know that this is something like, yeah, obviously we know, but one thing I'd like to point out that even though that this Frontera Film Festival is fun and games, and I'm glad that we're giving everybody, I'm glad that this film festival is giving everyone the opportunity to be able to create and so forth, we have to remember that this is regulated by the school district, so we must follow school code of conduct, which is why I'm giving you these rules. So moving forward, music may be used as long as the artists are given credit. Soundtracks for musical compositions may not contain foul language and or insulting remarks. If the dialogue contains any other language other than English, that certain part must include subtitles. So before we continue on, does anyone have any questions? Are we good? Okay. Moving on.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna be talking to you about submission guidelines. All festival entries must be submitted by Friday, April 5th, 2019, to the special Google Drive designated for your school or independent house. All entries must be submitted to your AVP teacher, which would be Mr. Sanchez, in an Apple video format, H.264, MPEG-4, M4V, or .mov. Please make sure that every entry is properly identified with the correct titling procedures. You need category, school or indie name, entry name, director name, runtime. Special note, only one director per entry. And then that's the example that we have. Individuals are not limited to how many entries they may submit to the festival. However, there is a $10 per entry fee. A big thing also is that you cannot have part 2 submissions. So let's say you create a 20-minute film. You cannot separate that into 2 different parts and have the continuation. Now, there were a lot of questions about this, dealing with art class and stuff. You can like create, let's say, one story and then another story, and have like it tie in somewhat, kind of like have like
have it connect like parallels,
Yeah.
but you cannot have one huge story and then like I'm just gonna chop it off. No, that's not how it works.
It's just kind of like you have a story and then there's another story, but it connects. But like that's already a story of its own, so you wouldn't need it.
It's like a story and its sequel. You can have that, but you can't have one long movie and separate it into 2 parts.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
And then also, as we said, only one director per submission. Submit payment for entry fee by check or money order or purchase order. Made out to CC Win Media Tech Club. Mail entries to Eagle Pass ISD, CC Win School 264, and then those are the addresses. Judges' critique and criteria. You're about to be judged by Judge James. Judges will use a scale from 1 to 10 based on production contents, originality, and creativity. Clear, crisp audio. I cannot stress that one enough.
Yep.
Smooth editing, cinematography complements the production. Lighting levels are fairly balanced. I also stress that one enough. The storyline is compelling and well directed. And the actor's performance and the overall production value. The judges will individually score films to avoid any bias or impropriety. After submitting their decisions, the results will go back to the Frontera Central to identify first, second, and third place. The judges will look at films on dates April 23rd, 24th, and 25th of 2019. We hope to see you there on opening night, May 3rd and May 4th, which is also Star Wars Day.
Of course. Okay.
May the fourth be with you.
So one thing we'd like to mention before we continue on is that if your school, which is our school, submits 5 films, our school will be eligible to participate as a judge in campus for one of the categories. So on April 23rd, 24th, or 25th, we will be able to gather here and judge all the films if we submit 5 films. So I think that's pretty cool. All right. So now we're going to talk about what you can win. So awards will consist of 16 subjects, which are basically the categories we went over. So sports films, informative films, music videos, cheer and dance, PSA, commercials. Short films with the following time durations: 30 seconds to 2 minutes, 2 to 5, 5 to 8, 8 to 12, experimental films, and animation. All will be rewarded first, second, and third place. I would like to mention that each winner gets like this really cool plaque. Yeah, I think that's really cool. So, and it says your name on it. Yeah. So special awards will also be given to those who were the best actress, best actor, or had the best special effects or best visual representation. So you can get updates, more info, and look into the festival on our social media and websites in terms of the Frontera Film Festival. So we have in Facebook Frontera Film Festival, Twitter Film Frontera, Instagram Frontera Film Festival, Snapchat Frontera Film. And if you want to go back to this PowerPoint or want to know more information about each category, you can go on this website, fronterafilmfestival.weebly.com. So if y'all want to take a picture of it, if you want to know, remember, go for it. I'll give you some. I'm gonna have to edit this.